practiced that before I shot this. I started wobbling. I jumped off the chair slides back, and I started wobbling like Myrtle. Like Myrtle in the last scene. It's all in that last scene, you know? It's all supposed to be funny, and yet, I don't know. Anyway, hello there, Nate Jackson, Criterion Collection Reviewer Guy here, number 255 in our John Cassavetes 5-film set opening night. The final movie, and maybe the weakest, I don't know. I'm starting to wonder, I'm starting to have my doubts about Cassavetes. I mean, audiences were too. It's not his strongest. It's a good film. It's a good film. He's not a bad director, but it's definitely just the hardest to get into, just because of the ambiguous plot. I think just the plot's very ambiguous, and it's hard to figure out what to make of this movie. Compared to Shadows and Faces and Woman of the Influence and Killing of a Chinese Bookie, you know, those have, you know, if you thought the ending to The Killing of a Chinese Bookie was ambiguous, I mean, Opening Night, I guess, is a little more complete, but it still has a lot of unanswered questions, you know. So yeah, Opening Night, 1977, 144 minutes. So I think what might have happened is, because of how badly Killing the Chinese Bookie went, Cassavetes realized that his star power came from his gorgeous wife, Gina Rowlands, and so, with the exception of Big Trouble, she starred in every movie he did, which weren't many. There was Opening Night, there was Gloria, Love Streams, and I think that was it. I think those were the only other two movies, but he brought her back for Opening Night, you know, Gloria and Love Streams. And yeah, no, I think that's probably why she was cast in the movie, because he was hoping that she would, you know, because people loved her in Woman Under the Influence, and so I think that was probably his. I'd like to think that was his reasoning, but at the same time, maybe he just had the story and he thought, no, she's the one, you know. He always relied on her. So this movie, from what I can understand, is about an actress who is not aging, although she is aging, who refuses to acknowledge the fact that she is aging. And her name's Myrtle, and she's in this play with another actor whose name is, I think, Maurice, and who's played by John Cassavetes himself. And the director, whose name I can't remember, he's played by Ben Gazzara, who we remember from Killing the Chinese Bookie, and I remember from Husbands. And then and Joan Blondell, who plays Sarah, the playwright. And yeah, so Myrtle is this actress, and she struggles with her age. And after a rather successful night on the stage, she leaves through the back door to meet her adoring fans. And there's one young woman who is really attached to Myrtle and her performance, and she really wants to try and have dinner with her or something like that, or just meet her more. But they run her off, and she follows her out to the car, and it starts to rain, and she waves goodbye to her and all that. And a few minutes later, the girl is killed in an automobile accident. And Myrtle is never the same. Myrtle takes this really seriously because she starts to question her youth and her age and all that, and starts to it's really hard to explain what happens to Myrtle. She really takes it hard. At one point, she ends up like doing the seance with her playwrights, spiritualist or something like that. And she ends up beginning to see the dead girl in her dreams, or she starts fighting with the dead girl and like acting crazy and all that. And it starts to affect her performance on stage. there's a really famous scene where she argues with her director about Maurice hitting her in a scene, and she like, you know, they don't want to rehearse it, and when they do it on the stage, you know, she gets hit. He hits her, and she takes it seriously, and she starts crying, and Maurice doesn't know what to do, so he walks off stage, and he comes back, and she breaks the fourth wall, and, you know, acknowledges that we're just doing a play or something like that. Actually, Maurice might be the character that Cassavetes plays in the play, not the actor's name. I can't remember, and I forgot to bring the book with all the lists of the cast in it, so forget it. But yeah, so basically, the opening night of this new play that they're doing, she goes out and gets drunk, and she comes back to the theater drunk, and they throw her on, you know, because they want the theater more than anything, and she apparently makes it through, and she ends up doing this improvised scene with Maurice. I guess the scene was really improvised between Rowlands and Cassavetes, and apparently all the audience reactions are real. They shot the scenes, I guess, with I guess Cassavetes like told them before that she was drunk, and like that was like they were to get their, you know, honest reaction to the dialogue and everything. If they didn't like it, they were supposed to boo. If they liked it, they're supposed to laugh or clap, you know. And it's just weird. It's hard to think of it that way, you know, because you want to think that, you know, because there was some coaching, it's not a complete improvisation. Because I'd like to think that the actors are responding to how the audience, you know, interprets it. I mean, that's probably not the case. Cassavetes is probably such a professional that he, you know, has this vision, and he goes through with it, and he doesn't change it for, you know, anything he's hearing around him, you know. So, yeah, so basically they do this scene, and I guess everybody loves it, and she's smiling at the end, and that's it. That's all I can say about this movie. It's definitely probably, I'd say it's probably my least favorite because it's just the most confusing. I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, it's a little more complete than The Killing of a Chinese Bookie, but at the same time, it's just so much. It just drags on. I think it just drags on a little too long. I think that's its problem. It's its length. I mean, this is only a few minutes longer than The Killing of a Chinese Bookie, but still, it's yeah, I don't know. So anyway, that's all I can say about this movie. I'm not gonna say anything more. I'll just leave it at that. It's probably the weakest of the 5 we've seen, and for that reason, I'm gonna give it a B. It goes on too long. Rowlands is lovely to look at, and I mean, Rowlands, Gazzara, and Cassavetes, you know, all do a bang up job in the acting. But the story is just really weak. I think the story just needs work, you know. And that's all I'll say about it. It's a B. Not its finest, but you know, it's still a good movie though. It's still a good movie. And maybe with the second viewing I'll get something else out of it, but for now I'm just gonna give it a B. There it is, opening night. Supplements. I will say one thing that I really liked about this movie: the music, or lack of music. The music that, I mean, I didn't hear it, I forgot where it is in the movie, but the music that Criterion used for the menu, the piano theme, is hauntingly pretty. It's very sad. It reminds me of like a cross between the Blue Nile's Easter Parade and Todd Rundgren's Don't You Ever Learn, if you've ever heard either of those songs, which you probably haven't because, you know. And yeah, so I give it to Criterion for picking some good music, and you know, it's a very haunting theme. I mean, music has haunting themes. I think it's the same guy who did the music for Faces, I forget his name, Bo something or other. But yeah, supplements. There's a new interview, 22-minute interview with Rowlands and Gazzara talking about opening night, and then an interview with Al Rubin, just talking about how, like, I guess at one point they ran out of money. they ran out of money, and so Ruben went home, and he didn't want to work on the film anymore. But Gazar convinced him that he had to come back because it was his. He made this. He helped make this film, and so he really appreciated the fact that somebody recognized his work, and so that's what really brought him back. And basically they opened it, and I guess it bombed. It bombed over here. I guess in Europe, his movies are a lot more well received than here, but they pulled it after a week or like 16 days or something like that, and because they couldn't afford the advertising anymore. And yeah, it's kind of sad, that we didn't pick up on his stuff until like now. I mean, I'm sure there were people who picked up on it, but yeah. Anyway, what else? And of course, there's an interview, the audio interview with Michel Clément, who keeps who I guess kept, cornering Cassavetes for interviews, and so he talks about casting Rowlands and all that stuff. And then the 2 trailers, which are pretty epic, and that's it. That's all I'll say about it. So opening night, B, not bad, but not his finest hour. Anyway, so that's it for now, but later on tonight we'll finish up the Cassavetes Fun Fest with Constant Forge, the life and art of John Cassavetes, and that'll be it. And then later on this week we'll have a Secret Honor, Tanner 88, probably hopefully Eyes Without a Face, and then a Fat Girl, and Fanny and Alexander, and so on and so forth. But anyway, that's it from me. Thank you for watching. Don't let your, oh gosh, let's see. Don't get drunk on opening night. There you are. Don't get drunk on opening night. We'll leave it at that. Anyway, that's it from me. Thank you for watching, and we will see you later tonight for Constant Forge. And until then, goodbye.